Hey guys, Grant here. I want to tell you all about my friends at Black Bear Inn and Suites of Gatlinburg who are making it possible to bring this episode to you. As you guys know, I grew up in East Tennessee, and there are two things that all East Tennesseans have in common. We all love the Vols, and we all love the Smoky Mountains. Since I've moved to Nashville, I've been unable to get my Smoky Mountain fix in, but thankfully, our friends at Black Bear Inn and Suites of downtown Gatlinburg have me covered. They are conveniently located at 1100 Parkway and are within walking distance of all the major attractions and best food that downtown Gatlinburg has to offer. To book your Smoky Mountain getaway today, visit blackbeargatlinburg.com or call 865 436 5656 or toll free at 1 800 933 0777.
Welcome to this edition of the Vawlin Out podcast. I'm your host, Jordan, here with my co-host, the real Grant Williams. How you doing tonight, man?
Jordan, man, it's a great night. How about I just do this for everybody who's watching us on YouTube real quick? Take them Gators out of it, man. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The Gators were on the grill tonight.
We got some alligator jerky cooking up in Knoxville.
Yes, sir. We just, man, we always do it. It's a great night to be alive.
It's a great day to be alive, man. I mean, it's a snow day outside. We're all getting to sit inside and enjoy some good hoops today. What more can we ask for, man?
Man, it ain't much. I can tell you that. But man, tonight we're going to talk about that mollywhopping the Vols put on the Gators. We're going to look ahead to Bama. Maybe take a trip around the SEC. Not much happening tonight, but we'll touch on it. Play some start bench cut, and that's about it. We're going to get rolling, though, buddy. You ready to do it?
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. So the Vols got a massive win today. I mean, a 19-point dub over one of your biggest rivals. How can you complain with anything you saw tonight? And then Dalton Connect. Man, but that man, I'm not even going to call him a kid anymore. That man is just becoming the best player, not just at Tennessee, not just in the SEC, but we're talking the best player in the entire country on this span he's on right now.
Yes. I mean, every time he does something, it's like, Mama, there goes that man.
Mama, there goes that man. He is out there. He's cooking. Put him in the kitchen, man. He's a chef. Chef Dalton. He's ready to serve you any single time you want it. Just tell him how you want it and where you want it from, and he's going to give it to you.
Absolutely, man. You know, at one point before halftime, well, going into halftime, Dalton was shooting 9 of 10 from the field. 90% from the field. Man. 90%, not 9, not 19, not 29, 90% from the field.
Well, man, and even to touch on that a little bit further, to end the half, Dalton had 20 of the Vols' last 22 points.
I mean, just it's crazy, man. Crazy. When he flips that switch gets flipped and it's done.
He's the best player in America right now. Find me another player who is going out there doing the things that Dalton is doing on a nightly basis. And spoiler alert, you can't. There's not anybody else who's doing what Dalton's doing right now.
No, not even close, really.
No,
not even close.
It's not anywhere close, man. I mean, diving into what the rest of the team did on this Tuesday against the Gators, Jonas Adu, another great game from him, 19 points with 9 rebounds. Should have had one more, man. One more. That's the only thing I'm going to critique you on right there, Jonas. But he did that in 21 minutes. Dalton, 39 points on 13 of 23 from the field, 4 of 6 from the 3, and 9 of 9 from the line. He also added 8 boards to go with that in 32 minutes. Zakai Ziegler did not have a Ziggy night. 7 points in 34 minutes, 2 of 2 from the field, 1 of 1 from 3, and 2 of 3 from the line. Santiago Vescovi in 17 minutes, 2 points, 1 of 5 from the field, 0 for 1 from 3, 0 of 1 from the line, and Santi ended his night with 2 assists. And then Josiah Jordan-James in 30 minutes, 1 of 3 from the field. That one was a 3. He had 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and ended his night with 3 points as well.
Interesting. One thing I want to point out tonight, and this hit me while I was watching the game. Old Ricky Dell, man, he played a lot of Adu and Awaka, it seemed like, out there on the floor at the same time tonight. Tells me that he put a lot of emphasis on eating glass this week.
Well, and it worked out well. I mean, the Volunteers in this game had 30 rebounds where the Gators only had 20. This is one of the better rebounding teams, not just in the SEC, but we're talking the entire country when it comes to Florida. And Tennessee was able to get out there and just really shut down anything that they wanted to do. I mean, this is what you want to see out of a team that's ranked sixth in America right now, with the possibility to be able to do more and the aspirations to cut down the nets. I mean, man, this is what you have to see from a team, and you went out there and you did it against one of the biggest rivals that you've got. I mean, not just in that one sport, but we're talking overall. Florida's probably the biggest rival that the University of Tennessee has.
Yeah, yeah, them or definitely that team that rolls in this weekend that we're going to touch on. But
Boo.
boo. But man, I'll tell you what, one thing too that really stood out to me tonight was the way Tennessee played defense on the ball screens. We didn't get beat on any of those. None whatsoever.
Not a single one of them. I mean, Tennessee has played fantastic defense. There's the reason, there's a reason why Tennessee is the second ranked defensive team in the nation, and they showed it tonight. I mean, this Florida team, they average, I mean, it's in the 80s on their points that they get each night. And this is the lowest amount of points that Florida has scored this entire season. And they did that because Tennessee was not giving them their open shots. They were not able to create their own offense. And it really showed. I mean, Tennessee just went out there and said, okay, we're doing our thing. You play with us or you figure it out, or you're going to have a long night. And the Gators had a very, very long night at the Food City Center.
Absolutely, man. And speaking of the Food City Center, kudos to the guys and gals that made it out tonight. That lower bowl was pretty much full, given the road conditions and everything. Shout out to the folks that made it there, and it didn't sound like it was half full tonight.
No, no. Well, I mean, the overall attendance was 17,332. Thompson Bowling Arena sits 21,000. So you had a lot of people who still said, no, the Gators are coming to town. We're not missing this. We're going to make sure that we're there to pull on the boys wearing orange and white. And they did. And it helps out this team more than I think any of us could ever even imagine.
Absolutely, man. It kept, going into this game, Florida was looking for their first win in Knoxville since 2014. Kept them from getting it.
And so, I mean, they're going back to the Conzo Martin days back in 2014 because he was still the coach then. So they beat Conzo in his last year in Knoxville. Then they never beat Donnie Tyndall, and they've never beat Rev Rick in Knoxville.
Rev Rick, Ricky Dale, buddy. It don't matter. Don't matter. It don't matter what pants he puts on for this game in Knoxville. Just say it.
No, it doesn't, man. He's out there. He's riding the refs. He's doing a lot of things we've never seen him do in his career at Tennessee. But Rick knows how special this team is. And you've got the defense to be able to go along with an offensive player like Dalton. And when you've got that, man, I mean, you're talking about a team that has so much more to look forward to. And it's just like what Jimmy Dykes said on the broadcast today, which shout out to Jimmy. Love Jimmy. I think a lot of Tennessee fans do because he's got to be the biggest Tennessee fan to work for ESPN. But he's out there saying, he's like, listen, Dalton Connect has changed how this team is. And if Dalton is doing what Dalton is doing night in and night out, his outlook for Tennessee in March has changed, just like every single one of ours should.
Yeah, he's always been a big, supporter of what Tennessee's been doing. But he's right. He is absolutely right, especially when it comes to Connect. If Dalton is going to keep doing what he's doing, the Vols are going to be a tough out.
Well, and they're going to be at this point. I mean, the defense is there. Defense is going to travel. I still have my concerns about this team playing on the road, which we'll find out a little bit more about, I guess, in a couple of weeks. I'm not really going to count Vanderbilt as a road game just because all nations still going to be there. But you look at it, man. I mean, defense travels. If the offense can keep on going and Dalton is still able to be him, I mean, just let's call it what it is. Dalton Connect is him. He is the best player on this team in this conference, and he's definitely a top 3 to 5 player in the country as of right now. And if Dalton continues to be on this trajectory, Zakai goes back to doing what he did, earlier this week, last week, all throughout SEC play. Jonas does what he's done. The sky's the limit for this team, man. I mean, I really can't stress that enough. Tennessee has the potential to do something that has never been done at the University of Tennessee. And it all starts where we are right now.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. And I'll tell you something else too. We talk about in just about every show, but Meshack continues to impress me, man. He's polished up his game on offense greatly. That it really kind of showed too to me. He didn't score much tonight, but there was one play in particular where he took this guy off the dribble, pulled up, made a shot, went back down on the other end, played defense, and got a turnover. Defense has never been a problem with him. It's always been his offense, and he's polished it up a lot.
He absolutely has, man. And talking on Jemiah Meshack just a little bit more, he's the best perimeter defender on this team without question. I think anybody who watches basketball can see that just by how he closes out on the 3-point line. Nobody's able to move the ball whenever Jemiah Meshack is guarding them. And his offensive game is coming along. Well, I think I was either texting with you or my dad during the game, but Meshack is going to have to continue to get that shot going. He needs to be Rick Barnes' special project over the summer, kind of like what he did with Kevin Punter back when he first got to Knoxville, kind of like what he did with, I mean, any player, you name it, that's made a huge leap while they've been at Tennessee. Jordan Bone comes to mind. Worked with Rick a lot in the offseason going into that 18-19 team right there. Jemiah Meshack, go be that guy. Get in the lab, work with Rick Barnes, learn exactly what he wants you to do. Because guess what, bud? You're going to be a starter next year. It's your senior year. You're going to be a starter for this team. So go out there, polish up that offensive game, and really get that going because we're going to need it next season.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. Like he's going to be the one of the guys next year. So get it going, put that work in over the summer, and come back next year and be that guy. I will say this: I feel like Meshack, from an athletic standpoint, is probably the most athletic guy on the team.
Yeah, I mean, athleticism, pure athleticism. It's either him or Dalton.
Dalton, I don't know. Dalton can throw down some nasty dunks, but from just an athletic standpoint, getting up and down the court, making guys take hard shots over you. I feel like if I had one knock on Connect for his game, it would be sometimes I feel like he takes a play or two off on defense, maybe whenever they're up, 15, 20, whatever. I'm sure everybody does, but Meshack, he don't take a second off on defense.
He doesn't take a second off on any time that he's playing at all. I mean, man, he does everything. He's the spark plug for the team at the end of the day. People try to match his intensity on the team because they see how good he is.
Yeah, like that motor he has, man, it's unmatched. It's like a defensive end in football. It just keeps going and going and going. He's got that kind of motor and it doesn't stop. There's one speed on that boy's lawnmower and it's rabbit.
Oh man, he's full rabbit speed, nonstop. He don't care. He's going, he's going, he's going, and he ain't going to stop. So everybody watch out because Jemiah Meshack, I think, is really going to make big leaps this coming summer.
Absolutely. Did you also notice in the first half there was quite a good little span there where Santi was on the bench and DeLeon was out on the court in his place? I think we're about to start seeing Santi get phased out a little bit.
Well, Santi only got 17 minutes tonight. Freddie ended the night with 6. Not great. I still want to see those numbers go up. The kid is oozing with potential. Like it just comes out of him when you see him on the floor. That pass that he had tonight, I mean, I forget who it went to. I think it was to Dalton, but he just like threw it behind his head and Dalton went and got it and laid it in. I mean, I want to see more stuff like that. And I think we're starting to see Santi get pulled from the rotation more, but as he should be, man. I mean, at the end of the day, Santi is not doing what he needs to do for this team. So if he's not able to step up and play the type of ball that you need out of him, it's next man up mentality at this point. I mean, we're too late into the season. Today's date is January the 16th, and we've been playing basketball for 2 months now. I mean, it's time for Santi to either get with the program or go back to Uruguay.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. And I think the dish that you're talking about was going to Adu, and Adu finished it strong.
Dude, whoo, man. And I mean, another guy who didn't play as much tonight as he has in the past, our favorite player, Jordan Gainey.
No, he didn't. He had 9 minutes tonight, but he didn't. He usually gets more than that and just does a lot of running. He
He's
done a
out
lot of
there
it.
normally about the 15 mark, but Jordan Gainey tonight, 0 points, 2 fouls, no turnovers, so that's good. He had a block. I guess good to him. 1 assist and 1 rebound. Other than that, whole lot of running for our man.
He's got to be in the best shape of anybody on that team. Has to be. As much as he runs, he has to be.
He ain't doing nothing else. I
You're
mean,
right.
he ain't scoring the ball. He ain't dishing it around. He ain't doing nothing with it. So he better be in the best shape. And if not, his dad needs to be like, man, what are we sending you to school for?
Right. Adu though, buddy. At one point, he had 4 field goals. That was as many as the entire Florida basketball team in the first half. At
Well,
one
and
point,
that was at the 8 minute mark in the first half whenever that stat was dropped on TV right there. So the fact that you were able to play 12 minutes and Jonas Adu had more buckets than the entire team that you're playing, hell of a job for the young man right there. I mean, he has blossomed into being the most improved player I have seen in a long, long time.
well, like I say, we touch it. We talk a lot about him and Meshack every show, and Adu gets a little bit more of airtime than Meshack does, but for good reason. The boy is averaging a double so far in conference play. 1 rebound off of it tonight, just like Dalton was one off his 40, and Dalton got pissed because Ricky Dale was like, "Nope, can't get you hurt, son. Come on."
Well, and Rick should have left him in to let him get that last point right there. That's neither here nor there. I'm not going to pick on Rick Barnes because what Rick has done for Tennessee is just unbelievable. He makes us proud to wear the T out on our chest every single time we go out in public because he recruits the right kids to come to the program. Not only can the kids ball, but they are good quality people and they don't embarrass you by wearing orange and white out in public. And we have had that way too many times in the past. So getting to see good guys go out there and do their thing, man, it's great. And I'm never going to pick on Rick Barnes, but man, give Dalton that last point. Just let him go get that last bucket, put his ass on the bench, let him go sit down then at that point and say, Dalton, save it for the Tide on Saturday.
Right, because we're going to need it. We're going to need another performance out of him like that for Saturday because Alabama can score. But we'll get into that here just a little bit later. We keep talking about Adu though, man. He opened the second half with 6 straight points.
Ooh, man. Yeah, and that's huge right there too, because a guy like Jonas Haydu, he's going to drive what this team can do. Sure, college basketball is a guard-centered sport, and Zakai is really where everything starts with this team. But if you don't have that play down low that's strong and you can do a lot with it, what are you doing? And Jonas has really turned into that perfect player for this team.
He really has. He really has. I mean, you can't say enough good things about him. You just can't. And then did you see the Ziegler +1 tonight there in the second half too? It happened pretty early too. It was
Ooh,
nasty,
man.
nasty.
Sakai, man, I freaking love that kid. Everything he does. I mean, he's going to go down. He's not going to be my favorite basketball player in Tennessee basketball history, but he's going to end in the top 3 to 5 for me.
Yeah, yeah. How could he not? He's a very likable kid. And then that gift that I tagged you in the other night, that was pretty solid too. That
I loved it.
makes me enjoy people like that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, man. Well, let's talk some Dalton Connect on this right here because I feel like we kind of broken down this Florida game a ton. But did you know that Dalton Connect passed Chris Lofton for the most points in a 3 game span in the past 25 years for the Volunteers tonight?
I seen that. He's got what, 96, 98?
That sounds about right on that. I mean, the kid is just playing the best ball out of anybody in America right now. Then another thing that Dalton's done to add himself to the history books. He has now became the first player to score 25 and 3 straight games since Chris Lofton in 2006. He's the first player to post back-to-back 30-point games since Chris Lofton in 2006. He's also the first player to post back-to-back 35-point games since Allen Houston did in 1990, before I was even born.
Wow, really? That's a stat right there, buddy. That is a stat.
Well, anytime that you're talking about a player who's doing stuff since Chris Lofton or Allen Houston, I mean, round of applause for the young man right there. He's doing things that people in Tennessee basketball history didn't think they would ever see again. And I have a scorching hot take here. Well, maybe it's not that hot. I guess we'll see. It is time we start talking about Dalton Connect like we talk about Chris Lofton, like we talk about Grant Williams, like we talk about Ron Slay, like we talk about Allen Houston. Any of those guys right there that are some of the greatest players to ever wear the orange and white, Dalton Connect's name should be up there and should be mentioned with those same guys.
You know what? I don't disagree with you on that. I mean, he's a 1-year rental, so to speak. They were talking about it on TV tonight. But, 1 year or not, you can tell he loves it here and like he feels at home here. You're not wrong. You're not wrong with that. That I don't feel like that's hot at all, to be honest. I mean, I see where you're coming from. That might push the button for a few people. Not me though. I agree with you.
Well, I mean, just what the kid is doing. Look at the past week on what he's done. Look at what he did against Illinois, North Carolina, which was just a performance for the ages right there to get Tennessee back in that game. Look at what he's done against Wisconsin, the Michigan State exhibition game. This kid is closing in on the end of his college basketball career and his 1-year career at Tennessee as one of the greatest players to ever wear the orange and white.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, he really is, man. And if he takes them to the Final Four, if he takes Tennessee to the Final Four, he has to go down in that group. Like you don't have a choice.
Well, I was talking to Dad after the game ended. He gave me a call while I was listening to the pregame show, and he's like, "What do you think about Dalton?" And I'm like, "Man, I know he's a 1-year guy, but if he takes his team to the Final Four, Tennessee needs to look into rewriting those rules to get that jersey hung in the rafters right there for him."
Absolutely, man. Shout out Papa Williams. He's a big fan. Big
I'm a
fan.
huge fan of the Vols and huge fan of the show right there.
Yes,
But
sir.
man, Dalton Connect, you where have you been my whole life? That's all I'm gonna say. I've wanted a player like you on every single Tennessee team that I have seen in my lifetime. Could you imagine Dalton Connect playing with Grant Admiral back in 18-19? Could you imagine him playing with Keon Johnson and Jaden Springer back in 20? Could you imagine him playing with Kennedy Chandler in 21? We are talking about completely different teams if you have a guy who can get the ball in the bucket.
Absolutely. And we've always talked about it, man. We've been missing Tennessee has been missing that guy that can take over a ball game and put one away if we need it or win it for us. Tennessee's got it now.
Well, and it's overdue. And it's kind of funny. Kevin Durant was tweeting about him the other night. Is KD a Vol now? That's kind of what I'm starting to think. He's tweeting about Nico. He's tweeting about DK3. He's tweeting about all of them, man. So KD, come on, Vawlin Out and talk balls with the boys over here. But this kid is just, his game is like Kevin Durant. He's got that fearless scoring mentality where every single time he touches the ball, he thinks it's going to go in there. It doesn't matter if he's got 6 guys on him. If he's got all 5 guys on the floor and the coach is standing on the floor guarding him too, he feels like the ball's going to go through the buckets.
Yeah. I mean, he's got his confidence back, and that's a big thing for a guy like Dalton. Shooters love to be confident, and all they need is to see one go through the hoop, and they're good.
Well, and he's seen plenty of them go through the hoop as of recent.
He's seen about 13 tonight, so that's impressive. Now, one thing I did want to say that I heard them talking on the tube tonight. At one point tonight, Tennessee had turned this is Tennessee being sloppy. They turned the ball over on 23% of their possessions. By the end of the game, I think it went down to like 21. That's entirely too much.
Well, after the post-game show, Rick was on, and I listened to what he had to say. 13 turnovers, and he said, well, there's about 10 too many right there. And he's absolutely right. Sure, you played a lot of different guys in this game. I mean, your bench went 7 deep tonight, which is just unheard of, but it's also a blowout game. So you're able to do stuff like that. But you're looking at the turnover stats right here. Zakai had 3, and then Meshack had 2. Awaka had 3. You cannot turn the ball over as much as you have been doing and expect to win the basketball games. Luckily, you've got a guy named Dalton Connect on this team who can get you 3 points, 2 points, 1 point. He says, how many points do you want and where do you want them from? Because I'll go get it for you. And
Exactly.
he's able to mask those turnovers. But without Dalton, I mean, Tennessee doesn't even win the game today, first off, without Dalton Connect. But you get into playing these better teams that you're going to play, example, Kentucky here in a couple of weeks. You think Kentucky's not going to find a way to be able to prey on what you do wrong? Absolutely, they're going to. They're going to find a way to to fix those turnovers into points for the Wildcats.
Yes, absolutely. They're too well coached not to. I don't like Coach Cal, but they are too well coached to not figure out a way how to take that and use it against you. That's just the way it is.
And they're going to figure it out right there, man. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Kentucky's going to find a way to do it. Tennessee's got to find a way to be able to clean it up, which I think is very possible. And I don't foresee that being an issue, but it's something to put on the radar as, okay, we got to get this figured out and we got to get it figured out quickly. But if there's one thing I know about basketball and Richard Dale Barnes being the coach at Tennessee, he's going to harp on it until it's fixed.
Absolutely. Three things that I really sort of noticed tonight, though. One, we did have a small scoring drought at one point there, about midway through the second half. Florida kind of cut it to 10. Tennessee regrouped, though, got it back together and opened it up, and they never looked back. Two, man, the way we play or Tennessee plays on offense or defense on inbound plays is crazy physical, man. They stop it, or 9 times out of 10 on offense they hit it. You know what I mean?
There's no team that's anywhere close to being as physical as Tennessee is. And that is how you're going to take these games where you have all these turnovers and still be able to turn it into a win versus a loss. I mean, it all comes down to what you do at the end of the day. And you can control the controllables. And there's one thing Tennessee can control, and that is playing strong, solid, and stout defense to keep anybody from being able to get the ball in bounds, be able to score, and do all that. I mean, you look at it, I mean, hell, the best scorer for the Gators today was Clayton once again. I mean, Walter Clayton, great player, but he's averaging, 16 points per game, and that's what he got tonight. So he hit right at his average. But other than that, man, I mean, nobody else really even got off the plane. They were too busy making snow angels out in the parking lot before the game started, I guess.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they were never in it from the get-go, it seemed like.
No.
The last thing that I want to say, and this is a big deal to me too. Ricky Dell is out there coaching his ass off with 2:30 to go, up 20 points. He was all over Dalton Connect. What are you doing? You know,
Rick knows how special this team could be, and I think Rick sees this as, how much more longer does he really want to do this? I don't know. I don't know anything when it comes to Rick Barnes and how much more longer he's going to want to wear the orange and white and patrol the sidelines at the Food City Center. But Rick looks at this as, this is my last chance to be able to win a national championship. And I'm going to give it every single thing that I've got, because I'm going to be damned if I go back to the house in, mid-March, end of March, beginning of April, and I'm not going to be able to say I did every single thing I possibly could to bring a championship back to Knoxville.
You're right. Absolutely, man. So that being said, man, I think we pretty much hashed this one out. We got a couple things we want to talk about afterwards, though. So let's hit it.
All right, man. So I'm going to give you this one today, man. Give me your player of the game. And if you say anybody else other than who I think you're going to say, I'm just going to kick you from the recording right now.
Got to be DK3, buddy. Has to be.
Yeah. I mean, talking about what Dalton did one last time here, 13 of 23 from the field, 39 points in 32 minutes. He also ended the game with 8 rebounds. That's your guy right there. I mean, I don't know how anybody else could be the player of the game.
The only other person that you could make a case for would be Adu, and it's not even close. That's reaching, honestly, for a player of the game. I mean,
it really is. I mean, he had no business being mentioned in that if Dalton Connect is doing Dalton Connect type things, which he did tonight.
Absolutely. So that being said, we're going to continue the Vawlin Out milk carton. Who's on it?
I mean, it's the only guy whose face has ever been on it at this point. I mean, Santiago Vescovi, dude, why did you come back? That's all I'm going to say. Santi, I love you for what you've done in the past for Vol Nation and what you've been, in the past little bit for us, but this year ain't it. You should have taken whatever money you could get, went and played wherever you wanted to overseas, go back to Uruguay, for example, and had a great life there. But now what you're doing by playing just horrible basketball is nobody's going to be willing to take a chance on you.
Yeah, it's not even mediocre now, man. It's horrible, and I hate it because I so want him to string together 3 or 4 really good games just so he can shut us up.
Well, if his face comes off the milk carton soon, there's going to be nobody in the world happier than me. I'm tired of talking about Santiago Vescovi playing bad basketball. But at the end of the day, I mean, how can you accept what you're seeing? This is not good ball from a guy who's played 5 years. He's going to end his career at Tennessee as one of the guys who's played more minutes than anybody else. Why is this an issue? I just don't understand. Sure, now maybe the death of his grandmother's affecting him more than we all know, which we've all lost grandparents. We all know how difficult that can be. And my heart goes out to him and his family. But at the end of the day, Santi, you're making money to go play basketball now. And I just don't know how anybody in the world can be happy with it. And if there's one thing I know about Santiago Vescovi, too, he's probably more upset than anybody else is about how he's playing.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, man. You can just tell though he's not he is absolutely not confident in just about anything he does other than play defense. He's still playing great defense. He's not
Yeah.
getting smoked. It's just the other end of the court that Tennessee don't get anything from him.
Yeah, and you can't have that. Not, I mean, sure, you've got Dalton Connect now, and he fixes a lot of problems on the offensive end. But to turn it back around right here, could you imagine how good this Tennessee team would be if you could get 10 points a game from Santi?
Oh, buddy. Just not 10, 5, and 5. That'd be all they'd need.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree with you right there completely. But that has been our milk carton segment right there. Jordan, how about we do this? I want to play some start bench cut with you, but how about we run to break real quick and we will jump right back into that as soon as we get back.
All right, buddy. That sounds good. If you're looking for the perfect Smoky Mountain vacation, Mountain Romance is your cozy romantic getaway. Starting at $129 per night, you get 2 bedrooms, 2 full baths, and this beautiful cabin will sleep up to 6 people. With an amazing mountain view, fire pit, pool table, and hot tub, this place has it all and is located within minutes of downtown Gatlinburg. To inquire, go to Airbnb and search for Mountain Romance or email bearslair2021@gmail.com. This next segment is brought to you by Three Kings of Cardboard, the go-to spot to upgrade your sports memorabilia collection. Check out their Facebook group and eBay at Three Kings of Cardboard. I have dealt with them personally and will not deal with anybody else. My favorite item from them is my Jalen Wright 1-of-1 Bowman U Superfractor that they have pulled me. Check out our friends at Three Kings of Cardboard today. Grant, what do you say we play some start bench cut, bud?
Man, let's do it. What you got for me tonight?
All right, start bench cut. 3 best big men and 3 big men in Tennessee basketball. Jarnell Stokes, Wayne Chisholm, Brandon Crump.
Man, that's tough right there. I think I'm going to go in the inverse order of what you said. I'm going to start Wayne Chisholm. I am going to cut who was the other one you said?
Jarnell Stokes or Brandon Crump.
I'm gonna cut Brandon Crump and I'm gonna bench Jarnell Stokes. Tough right there.
I think I'm gonna start Wheezy. I'm gonna bench Crump and I'm gonna cut Stokes.
There we go. There we go. What else you got for me?
All right, start bench cut. Draft beer, bottle beer, can beer.
Draft beer is always going to be the start right there. That's the hotter younger sister of anything else. Then I'm going to take the bottle beer as my bench, and I'm going to cut the canned beer.
I'm cutting canned beer, benching draft beer. Beer just tastes better out of a bottle, bud.
You're wrong, man. Out of the draft. That's the hotter younger sister of all of them, man. All right. I've got 2 start bench cuts I've prepared for you tonight. Start bench cut, dumbest moment in Tennessee sports history. This is on the field, off the field, on the court, off the court, anything right here. Number one, Jansen Jackson going over to Pilot with a BB gun. Two, I'm going to take Tyler Smith and all those guys riding around on New Year's Day with guns and weed in the car. Or the third one, Jeremy Pruitt giving out McDonald's bags full of cash.
Oh, that's tough. I'm going to cut Pruitt giving out McDonald's bag full of cash because let's just be honest with him right now, man. Everybody did it. He was just dumb enough to get caught. And, we come out on the better end of that. So I'm going to cut that one. I'm going to bench the BB gun incident, and I'm going to start Tyler Smith and the guns and weed just because, I mean,
that right there, man, it was stupid. All of them were stupid, but I was
they
just
really
like,
were.
I gotta throw this out there in some way, shape, or form because I'm sure all nations gonna have a different order for each one of those.
My honorable mention, though, Derek Dooley trotting 13 people out there against LSU. He wins that game, man. Hear me out here. He wins that game. Possibly a totally different tenure for Doolander.
Well, he's probably in Knoxville for a whole lot longer. I mean, he buys himself an extra year or two just based off of that alone. So
yes.
It's crazy to think about. And then my other start bench cut I've got prepared for you tonight. I want to know favorite domestic beer. I've got Michelob Ultra, Coors Light, or Miller Lite.
I'm starting Miller, benching Coors, cutting Mick. Cutting the Mickey.
Opposite way around, man. I'm a Mick Ultra guy till the day I die.
Man, it's not bad, but Miller Lite is more filling and only has one more calorie.
It's gross.
Oh, so okay. So your start bench cut though for the dumbest moments in Tennessee. You didn't in Tennessee sports history. You didn't give me yours.
Man, I'm going to take Jansen Jackson going over to Pilot with a BB gun. Now that Pilot is a Casey's, they had to get rid of the name in some way, shape, or form. So I'm going to take that one. I am going to bench Jeremy Pruitt, giving out the McDonald's bags full of cash. I think that one, once again, we came out on the better end, and I'm going to cut the whole gun and weed incident with the basketball players from the Bruce Pearl era. Just the only reason why I'm saying that is Tennessee was able to take care of top-ranked Kansas just a few short days after that without those players on the floor.
That's true. I don't think there's a wrong order on that one. I really don't.
No. Any of them could be started. Any of them could be benched. Any of them could be cut.
Yes. So that being said, buddy, you ready to take a look around the SEC?
Well, man, let's do it. So right now there is one game in progress. I think it's going to end by around the time we get done doing this. So I am going to go ahead and skip over that. So right now there has only been one game that has went final, which is the Volunteers over the Gators with the final score of 85-66. Check out the first segment if you want a full breakdown of this game. But everything else, man, is kind of
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that's the only game that has went final as of right now. The rest of them I'm going to kind of have you pick on. But what was your point you had right there, Jordo?
We were talking in the live and gave score predictions. I believe I said 79-65, and you said
83-67.
So we were both really, really close. Really close.
Very, very close on that one today. I just expected Tennessee to have a really good showing just with the rivalry game and everything at hand on that. So there are two games slated for later today, which will be starting about right now, actually. So we've got the Bulldogs of Georgia taking on the Gamecocks of South Carolina. Give me your pick on that one, Jordan.
Give me the Dogs.
You know what? I'm gonna go with the Gamecocks on this one, man. I mean, the job that Lamont Perry's done in Columbia has been unbelievable, and I kind of like the South Carolina team, honestly, man. Another one we've got right here for later today: the Aggies versus the Hogs. Give me your prediction on that one.
TAMU, Arkansas, and one other team is 0 or a couple of other teams actually are 0-3 in conference play. Vanderbilt, Arkansas, and I can't think right offhand who the other one is. That's Mizzou. 2 of the 3 though. Mizzou. They're all going 0-4.
I kind of agree with you on that right there. Give me the Aggies on that, man. There's a couple of games that are slated for tomorrow as well. On the 17th. you have games against Kentucky and Mississippi State. I think we both know which way that one's going to go.
I think we know what way it's going to go. Is it in Rupp?
It is in Rupp.
Yeah, you got to go Kentucky there, but it won't surprise me if it's a close one.
No, it won't surprise me if that one's a close one at all. I think State's a hell of a team, and they've done a great job so far this year. So give me the Cats in a very, very close one on that. You have the Ole Miss Rebels taking on the LSU Tigers tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern on SEC Network.
Give me the Rebs.
And give me the Rebels as well, but LSU is looking for that first statement win of the season, and I think LSU plays this one pretty close as well.
I could see it.
And then rounding out the week, you have Auburn versus Vanderbilt in Nashville. There's no point even talking on that one.
0-4. 0-4.
Yeah, that one's going to be rough. And then currently with 2 minutes and 16 seconds left, Alabama is up 84-71 on the Missouri Tigers.
Well, that one's done. Poke it with a fork.
Yeah, that one's going to be tough right there for Mizzou to be able to come back on. And man, I mean, Mizzou's going to drop to 8-9 on the season, 0-4 in SEC play. This was a great basketball team last year. I mean, they beat Tennessee on that buzzer beater, knocked Tennessee out in the SEC tournament in Nashville. I mean, what has happened to the Tigers from Como?
They fell apart, brother. Fell apart at the seams.
And they did it quickly, man. I mean, very, very quick.
With the quickness.
Yeah. It's just unbelievable how quickly that one has fallen apart. But that has been your look around the SEC, brought to you by our friends at Three Kings of Cardboard. Make sure you guys check them out to give your sports memorabilia collection some love. Jordan, how about you hit me with the VFL and the NBA update? I kind of want to hear about one guy today.
Oh, buddy, we got old Tobias. He's out there playing tonight, having a good season. He's averaging 17 a game. Handling some business out there. They're actually, last I seen, tied with the Nuggets, 78-78 at halftime.
Okay.
So Tobias is out there putting it out there, though, man. He's fun to watch. He's a good scorer. And actually, let me just update that just a minute. They are actually beating the Nuggets 87-83, and Tobias is having a stellar night. 13 points, 3 assists, 1 and 2 rebounds. So he's doing pretty good. But for the season, Tobias is averaging 17.7, so right at 18 points a game, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and shooting 51% from the field.
Ooh, so, man. Great year for the VFL right there. We all miss you in Knoxville, Tobias, but hey, we've got another guy who can score the rock right now, so we're not missing you as much as we thought we would be.
Right.
So
he's doing well up there in Philly, though. I'm glad to see it.
I am too, man. I'm glad that Tobias has finally found himself a home. Well, man, you want to talk a little bit about the Tide?
Yeah, we're going to try our best to roll them this weekend, ain't we?
Ah, man, we're going to roll that people who love to roll around in their laundry detergent all the way back to the worst state in America.
Smells like sewer and Dollar Generals.
That's all they got down there.
It really is. Man, this is gonna be a tough game, though. I mean, I look for Florida to give Tennessee or Alabama to give Tennessee more of a fight than Florida did. They average 90 points a game and only give up 74. So Tennessee's going to have to score, I think, at least 80 to win.
Well, you're going to have to, man. I mean, the Tide are led by Mark Spears, who has been around the block for forever and a day for the Tide. I mean, he's a senior. He is from Muscle Shoals, Alabama. He is averaging 20.3 points per game, which is tied for 19th in America. He's got 4.2 boards per game, 3.6 assists per game, and he is shooting 54.5% from the field as a 6'1" point guard.
He's blistering it, man.
He's playing, I mean, just unbelievable basketball. In rebounds, they are led by Grant Nelson, who is currently averaging 5.7 boards per game. Aaron Estrada is their leader in assists at 4 per game. Sorry, guys. Talk right now, and I can't even say the words I need to say. And then in steals, Aaron Estrada also leads the team with 1.6, and Grant Nelson leads the team in blocks per game as well with 1.5 per game.
those three right there, though, that's their bread and butter. Like you said, Seals, he's 20.3 a game. Grant Nelson, he's at 12.5 per game. Estrada's 13.2 points per game. So right there's their bread and butter. Estrada also averages 2.4 turnovers per game as well. So, it's gonna be an interesting game, man. As a
Well, it's
team,
something to
though,
look at. Yeah.
they shoot 49% from the field.
This is a really, really good Alabama team, guys. That's the first thing I'm going to say right here. Their record doesn't necessarily show it, and we'll dive into here in a little bit who they've played this year, what the final scores of those games were, and all of that. But the biggest thing for Alabama I see right here when looking at the stats on paper, you've got three seniors who lead in every single category for them. This is another older team, a lot like Tennessee, that predicates themselves on the older guys and the upperclassmen going out there and doing the work for them.
Yeah, absolutely. They look to those three guys to handle the bulk and hope one of the younger dudes step up every other night.
Well, and they've been getting a lot of it, man. I mean, you look at what Alabama's done on the year. I mean, they're not a bad team. They've not had the best showing all year long. They started out the season ranked 24th in the country. They got as high as 17th. They lost to Ohio State. They lost to Clemson. They lost to Purdue, which Tennessee also lost to Purdue, but Tennessee played them a little bit closer. The Tide lost to Creighton. They lost to Arizona, and they lost to nobody else. And they just went final with Mizzou with a final score of 93-75.
So out of that whole list, I would say that their worst loss is either Ohio State or Clemson.
Well, man, Ohio State was actually a pretty good team whenever they played them. Ohio State on the year at that point was 4-1, and Ohio State is currently sitting at 12-5. Creighton was the ranked number 8 team in the country whenever they played them, and Creighton is currently sitting at. Give me 1 second, y'all. My fingers don't want to push the button for whatever reason. And Creighton Blue Jays are currently ranked 18th with a record of 13-4.
Arizona is probably the best team that they've lost to. Creighton
Well,
a close second. Or
Purdue's
Purdue, yeah.
really good, man. I mean, Alabama's been battle tested. And one thing I like about Nate Oates so much is he's a lot like Rick Barnes. He says, hey, we're going to go play the best teams in the country year in and year out to make sure that we are battle tested by the time the SEC season starts. Because let's say that the SEC has a down year for whatever reason. We've already built our resume come January 1. We've already got our resume made. And if we knock off Tennessee, we knock off Kentucky, we knock off, Auburn, then that's another resume builder right there. But we don't necessarily have to have it, is how Nate Oates looks at it.
Yeah, well, that's a good way to look at it. I mean, I would rather, have 2 or 3 quality losses than one bad loss, one really bad loss to a team that had no business beating us. You know what I'm saying? I'll take those
Well,
North Carolina, Purdue losses all day long, as opposed to getting beat by, you know, the Bonnies at St. Bonaventure or somebody like that. And that's not knocking them. That's a good ball program, but
it's not an SEC caliber ball program at the end of the day.
right.
And
So
that's what Alabama predicates themselves on. Nate Oates is a great coach. Once again, kind of just talking about him and what all he's been able to do. But on Nate Oates' career as a head coach, he is currently sitting at 199-90 as his coaching record. One thing that I like about Nate Oates so much is he was a high school coach for 11 years. And then Mr. Danny White was the one who discovered him and brought him to Buffalo. And he was at Buffalo in 2013 to 2015 as an assistant, 2015 to 2019 as the head coach for Buffalo. Then ever since 2019, he's been down in Tuscaloosa. And I mean, he's turned Alabama into a great basketball program. Not knocking the job that anybody else did there before, but Nate Oates showed, hey, Alabama can be an everything school. This just isn't all football down here. And he's really been the one who has changed that for everybody. I mean, the guy just can flat out coach ball at the end of the day.
absolutely, man. I mean, I'm gonna give you a hot take. The Danny White coaching tree as an athletic director is pretty damn solid.
Oh man, that's a scorching hot take right there, man. That's as hot as this weather is outside right now.
Right.
But
So
man, I mean, Nate Oates, what the guy's done has just been unbelievable. Last year, Alabama did end up winning the regular season and the SEC tournament, so they got both shares of the SEC crown right there. And then the Alabama Crimson Tide were also the number one overall seed for the NCAA tournament last season. Now, sure, that team that they had last year is not like the team this year. Brandon Miller's playing for the Charlotte Hornets, and he's killing it on and off the court just like he did back then.
hell of
But
a shooter.
oh, hell of a shooter, man. But this Alabama team's not the same team they were last year. I still think Tennessee is in a great position to be able to win this basketball game and be able to go out there and add another quadwood win against a rival to your resume and have that for come March. But you're going to see this Alabama team again on March 2nd. So you don't have a whole lot of time in between the games. You've got roughly 5 weeks, 6 weeks until the next time you play the Tide. It's time to go out there, put your foot on their throat, say, hey, this is how we do it in Knoxville. Then you turn right back around in the beginning of March and you go down to Tuscaloosa and you say, hey, Tide, you remember what we did in Knoxville? This shit's happening again. And it's going to happen over and over and over every single time you play the University of Tennessee.
It's wash, rinse, repeat, buddy. Wash, rinse, repeat. Tide reference, So, well, buddy, I think we've about hashed out this Florida game and this Bama game, upcoming Bama game, as much as we can. What do you think we put a bow on it, call it a night?
Brother, let's put a bow on it. Thank you guys for choosing to spend some time with us. Vols got that big win tonight, so I'm going to gator chomp for y'all again who are watching the video. But we don't like the University of Florida, and we don't like the University of Alabama. Well, we don't give a damn about the whole state of Alabama. Let me just put it that way, because we're from
Tennessee. That's right.
Yeah. So this is a fun week of basketball for the Volunteers, and make sure you guys like, rate, and subscribe. Hit us on YouTube and the socials, and we will be seeing you guys here again very shortly.
Absolutely. Y'all have a good night, and go damn Vols.
Go damn Vols. This episode of the Vawlin Out podcast has been brought to you by our friends at Peace of Mind Enterprises. From construction, home remodel, down to general handyman services, Peace of Mind has you covered.
All technicians are licensed and insured, servicing East Tennessee with 30-plus years of experience. Call 865-202-7167 for a free estimate, because nothing beats having peace of mind.